before him. Amber Birch was one of them. Her name was Amber, but her nickname was Bubbles. Before Pazuzu, she seemed like a pretty normal girl, just a very good Christian girl, was brought up in a good family and not known to get into any trouble. Crystal Matlock was the other fiancée and was also not known to have any trouble or any problems with law enforcement or drugs prior to being with Pazuzu. Pazuzu Algarad's fiancée, Amber Birch, was accused of slapping and attempting to choke Pazuzu's mother. Amber Birch was later convicted and sentenced to 12 months of probation for that charge, and 2 months later, she was actually charged with assault and battery, and police alleged that she hit Algarad in the face as well.
Hello, folk music fans. Gordon Lightfoot is one of the greatest folk rock artists ever, and now there's a podcast celebrating and discussing his work song by song. It's called Carefree Highway Revisited, and every episode, your host, that's me, Mike Messner, will examine one of Gordon's songs with the help of a special guest. So, if that's your cup of tea, why don't you follow us on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn? That's Carefree Highway Revisited.
Getting into more about Pazuzu's crimes, in 2009, Pazuzu shot and killed Joshua Wetzler, who was a friend of his, and he was 32 at the time. Josh had been staying there with Pazuzu at the time of his murder, and nobody ever really knew why the murder took place. But after the murder, Pazuzu just left his body to decompose right there in the house. They kept partying, they kept doing their daily routines, and didn't really seem too bothered by this body decaying in his house. At some point, he did call Amber, who was in South Carolina at the time, to come and help him deal with this. She arrived at the house to find Josh Wetzler's basically mummified body by this point. And she wasn't the only one that helped Pazuzu to dispose of the body. His other fiancée, Crystal, was also in on the burial, along with a neighbor who was named Alan Billings. He was also reported to be in on this as well. His daughter went to the authorities, Alan Billings' daughter, at one point, and reported that she knew her dad had been involved in this burial and nothing was ever done. And she said it seemed like they just really didn't take it seriously. In October of 2009, Amber shot Tommy Welch, who was age 31 at that point, and killed him. Again, there didn't really seem to be much of a reason or a motive. They just buried the body in the backyard and went on with life. In February of 2010, Stacy Carter called the authorities and reported these rumors and said that her ex, the father of her child, Josh Wetzler, had been killed. And she was hearing these rumors that he had been buried on the property. And they did actually go to follow up on these reports, but completely missed the very obvious graves that were in the backyard. And again, it resulted in nothing. In the winter of 2010, one of the guys that was staying with Pazuzu was on the run for involuntary manslaughter. They had found the body of that man's victim at the same river where Pazuzu would often go to practice his rituals. Pazuzu was hiding this man out and lied to police about his whereabouts. It resulted in both men being arrested. That charge didn't faze Pazuzu in the least as he continued to practice his rituals, and his rituals actually became heightened at this point. He would perform cutting and drinking the blood of birds, pretty much just whatever he felt like doing at this point. Between the years 2010 and 2014, there were multiple tips made to police about this, and for the most part, they were just simply ignored. And I can't help but wonder if they were just intimidated by this Satanist who was reported to be killing people and drinking blood and practicing these rituals. I can't imagine that they were very eager to go talk to him. This delighted Pazuzu because he felt like he had even more power, and he was really excited about the attention that he was getting. It would be 5 more years until the bodies were found behind the home. It was determined that they were killed by the same .22 caliber rifle. Autopsies would later claim that each man was shot in the head with the same .22 caliber rifle, and his mother was present for both murders and then basically got ready and left the house for work. Pazuzu had also previously claimed to have picked up 2 prostitutes at one time and killed them and eaten parts of their bodies before burning them. In April of 2015, crews did demolish the home where the bodies had been buried. On October 28th of 2015, Pazuzu Algarad was found dead at 4:20 a.m. in his cell at Central Prison in Raleigh. They did perform an autopsy, and they would later say that he died from severe blood loss that was caused by a deep wound to a major blood vessel in his left arm, at the pit of his elbow. It was ruled to be a suicide, and authorities said he did use something to cut himself. It was never clear what the instrument actually was, and there are quite a few rumors out there that it was actually his teeth, because remember he had them filed, and so people thought that during the time leading up to this that he had actually been attempting to bite himself in order to cut an artery. In his cell, there was an electric razor and a clear unlabeled bottle filled with red fluid. Officials, however, maintain that there was no evidence to support those rumors. His fiancées did, however, go on trial, and Amber Birch pleaded guilty at the age of 27 to second-degree murder, armed robbery, and accessory after the fact to murder. She was sentenced to serve a maximum of 30 years and 8 months in prison with a maximum sentence of 39 years and 2 months. Crystal Matlock was also arrested for 2 counts of accessory after the fact and is serving a minimum sentence of 3 years in her part of the burial. I couldn't believe that. Really? 3 years. That's all that she got in prison. But how many people do you think he actually killed? Do you think that we know of them all? And do you think that there should be more accountability for his mother? There's absolutely a lack of mental health care in this case, right? But I just can't help but wonder if there should be more accountability for his mother. And in some of the videos that I watched, they actually go and speak with the mother. And it is chilling to watch her even now. She completely sugarcoats even all of his crimes, talks about him when he was young, which I can't help but as a mother think that that's probably what you would do. But as far as her speaking about his crimes, there's just very little accountability that I could see there. Do you think there's any accountability for this in the police force, the mental health experts that were dealing with him? I would be interested in hearing your opinion. And if you get a chance, go check out that 5-part documentary on Viceland. It is very, very interesting. I was really fascinated with this case. I was fascinated with the aftermath that his mother has been left with. I wonder about mental illness with her as well. She does seem like a very sweet lady in one aspect, but then at the same time, she completely seems detached from his crimes and what has gone on. So I will leave all of my sources in the show notes, and I encourage you to go check those out if you would like to see more or read more about this case. And again, we will see you very soon on the Sinister Story Hour, and thank you so much for joining me. Good night.